welcome back to Grid Drop. Today we're back with some more Assettocorsa. This video, kind of a disclaimer, is not part of the championship series that we're doing on Assettocorsa. It's kind of a standalone video. I just figured I'd take the GT4 cars out. So today driving the KTM, I believe it's the Expo GT4. It's a pretty fun little car. It's kind of zippy. It's pretty slow in a straight line, but it's very light and it's pretty nimble in the corners. So what better circuit to test this car out than Bathurst in Australia? So going to be quite a difficult race. 20-minute race, no qualifying, no practice, anything like that. Just going to get straight into it. Yeah, didn't really tweak the setup of the car too much. I just played around a little bit of anti-roll bars, tire pressures, basic stuff, and I have not really played around with the rear wing or the front splitter, so we should be kind of slow in a straight line compared to the rest of the field, I'd imagine, just because they're on that kind of like standard safe setup. So we'll have to see how that gets going once we get racing. Speaking of which, we're green flag running now. Pretty good start right on the throttle, decent reaction time. Up the middle now, kind of threading the needle between all these cars. Late braking, lunging into this pack of cars in front. Still kind of in the middle of all these. Luckily no contact with the BMW on the right there. That was definitely kind of close. Don't want the safety rating to go down a little bit, but this is where we can start to test out some of our straight line speed. Obviously we're in the slipstream. For the rest of this lap and probably next lap, these guys are going to be pretty bunched up, so we're not going to be able to really tell how slow we are in a straight line. But yeah, once we get kind of more into the race, we'll be able to see just what our car's pace is going to look like. You see going around the outside of that Porsche right there, definitely making up some really good places on this track so far. It's good getting places at the start because there's not really too many places to overtake on this track. There's into the first corner, into the last corner, and then not really many other places in between. There's only about 3 hard braking zones, and the rest of it's just a lot of twisty, kind of hilly chicanes that make it very difficult to find a spot to overtake. So hopefully we can find some kind of unorthodox places to overtake. Speaking of which, definitely sticking to the back of this Aston Martin now. Brakes feel pretty good, a little bit sketchy sometimes, definitely gaining in that braking zone right there. Looking potentially for move up the inside now, going forward into this kind of twisty chicane, downhill chicane, and luckily we could make that move stick without kind of just flying into one of the walls. Sticking to the back in this Mercedes now, definitely making up a lot of good places at the start of this race, which is obviously always a good thing, but you can see how completely insane this track is around here. Like I said earlier, it is a lot easier with GT4 cars. Really sticking close to the back of this Mercedes now. This is where we're going to see how good our straight line speed is. Going to be in the slipstream, so hopefully we'll be able to stick with him, but it looks like he's just pretty much leaving us in the dust right there. So yeah, look at that gap, really open up on the back straight. So unfortunately that's going to be a big weak point for this car because we can't really go for moves. As I say that, we're going up the inside now into that last corner, but yeah, that's going to be definitely a big weak point for this car, is the lack of straight line speed, especially on that back straight. Hopefully we can just make up time in the braking zone like we just did and like we're doing now to this other Mercedes in front, getting really close to this Audi. He's going very slowly over the curb. Have to hit the brakes a little bit right there, kind of compromise the exit speed, but luckily he's going slowly ahead too, so not really missing out too much on this main straight now. On to lap 2 now, into the first corner, and that was definitely a very good lap into the top 8. So we're in a point scoring position now, which is very good. But yeah, so straight line speed is definitely going to be a big weakness, and pretty much avoiding mistakes is also just going to be the #1 thing to focus on for this track. I've practiced this track for countless hours, and it just never seems to get easier. I will say though, the GT4 cars make it a little bit more manageable. So around the outside now, sort of getting into this twisty section. I believe this should be the start of Sector 2. I'm not really 100% sure about the sectors or corner names on this track. Hitting the brakes a little bit, the McLaren going slightly slowly. I did notice the AI kind of brake through there. They kind of just slightly tap the brakes. You don't need to do that. You can go flat as long as you have a good line. Another important place to have is a good line. Another important place to have a good line is through these corners right here. It is easy to just kind of tap the brakes, but if you have a good line, you can go flat out and just barely avoid hitting that wall on the left. Same with right here as well. You don't really have to lift or hit the brakes. And pretty much right here, just a little slight tap of the brakes and you should be all set. But maybe we can go for the same move we did on that Aston Martin on lap 1, and we are through the twisty chicane yet again, which is very surprising and able to overtake cars through here. really sketchy through here, jamming the brakes, making sure I don't slide into the wall or go into a spin. But we'll see kind of a short replay here of what that move looked like on this McLaren. Unfortunately, the camera angle is not too great, doesn't really do it justice, but still pretty sick to get that move done. Really tight through the corners right there, sticking as close as I can to the wall, and just trying to make up the best lap time. So looks like the next pack of cars ahead is not really too far off, probably a second or two ahead. You see the gaps in the bottom left right there, so yeah, about 2 seconds in front. So hopefully we can make up that time rather quickly. Unfortunately, going to be losing a little bit of time on this back straight due to the pretty terrible straight line speed. But speeding up the lap a little bit now, going to be heading on to lap 3. And already really starting to gain some time on these cars in front. You can really see how much time we're making up through the braking zones. I think it's most likely because these guys are kind of bunched up together, and they're all having to sort of have a chain reaction of early braking once that first guy brakes. Really late move up to the inside right there. I wasn't even expecting that one. Wow, that was very close for comfort. I don't think I was expecting to be that close under braking. We can see a replay here. That was really close into that first corner. Barely avoiding contact right there. And actually had a pretty good line through there, sticking to the inside curb and using the full width of the track there. But skipping ahead one lap now, you can see almost getting overtaken on the back straight right there by that R8 on our left-hand side. Aston Martin on the inside, really getting a lot of air right there, taking a lot of the inside curb, probably hitting a sausage curb or something like that, which is good to know. It's kind of a blind curb, so you can't really tell if it's going to be too forgiving or not. So it's good to know that I should not be cutting that corner. Curbs right here are pretty forgiving. The exit curbs and inside curbs are mostly pretty much fine throughout this entire track. The one on the inside into that kind of downhill chicane is definitely a little bit sketchy. You can see making a little bit of contact with that BMW right there, so I'm going to give these guys the place back. That was kind of, I don't know, that move wasn't very good, so I'm just going to give them the place back as a good Samaritan or something like that. But yeah, overall pretty good race so far. So we're in 5th place, about halfway through the race now. Yeah, 9 minutes remaining. It was a 20-minute race. And I'm feeling pretty confident. The car feels really good. It's very balanced. It's very like nimble and agile in the corners. It's just that one drawback is the straight line speed, which honestly is not really too much of an issue because the AI are kind of braking so early, just due to being bunched up. And I think also maybe I'm just better at braking than them. I'm not really too sure why they seem to be braking so early compared to me. But overall, the lap times feel good. Yeah, not really too much to complain about in this race. Definitely making up a lot of solid ground, and I'm finding I'm very much able to kind of close the gap to cars in front, which in the championship mode I find that sometimes it's a little bit difficult to close gaps, especially to like the podium runners. Those guys usually kind of have an increased pace, and these guys in front are on the podium. So I believe first place is kind of run away with it a little bit, but these guys in front are in the podium position. So if we can get these guys, we should be in 2nd place by the end of this little train of cars. So that's definitely something that's on the table today, which is pretty surprising given that we started in like 22nd place or 20th place, something like that. I think it was 20th place, but onto the back straight now, tucking into the slipstream. Unfortunately, there's kind of no point to that really. I don't really gain any straight line speed. I think the rear wing is a little bit too high, but mainly looking to make some time in the braking zones. You can see how close we're going to get right here to the braking zones. Corner exits are a really big thing on this track too. Since the straights are usually so long, getting a really good exit is very important. Up to the inside now, taking to the grass a little bit, up on the inside curb, or sorry, the exit curb. This should be a pretty easy overtake. A little bit of contact as he kind of turns in on us right there. Kind of a stupid AI move. Not really too sure why they do that, but in 4th place now, so the podium positions are 1 position away from us, so that's definitely within reach. As I was saying, it's pretty easy to close the gap for some reason on this track. So not really too sure how it's working. I guess it's all just pretty much coming down to gaining time in the braking zones and just having good lines and avoiding kind of tapping the brakes when the AI kind of chicken out and have to tap the brakes or lift a little bit. So I guess that's really what our lap time is coming down to. Around the outside now into this corner. Kind of surprised I got that one. I don't really know why he was sticking to the inside. The AI seemed to be racing kind of weirdly on this track right now. I don't know why he wasn't just kind of in the slipstream of this McLaren in front, but I guess to each their own. So into the podium positions now. That was a little bit easier than I thought it would be. 7 minutes remaining in the race. It's starting to get a little bit dark out, so I believe at the end of the race we should be, complete darkness, full headlights, and that'll be very interesting for a couple of laps. Got to really make sure we don't make any mistakes and kind of throw away all of the progress that we made. But sticking to the end of this, the rear of this McLaren through this chicane, not really going to go for a move here. Don't really feel like it's worth risking, especially being so high up in the order at so late in the race. So going to stick behind him, hopefully find sort of space if he leaves the door open into one of these heavy braking zones towards the end of the lap. That's probably where we'll get to overtake him. Not really going to risk anything through this twisty section of what I believe to be sector 2, but onto the back straight now. Really, really close to him. Luckily this time it seems like the slipstream is working out, and for once we finally have some straight line speed. I wouldn't be too surprised if he starts to pull away a little bit once we get up this hill. And yeah, there we go. Just a little bit more engine power, it seems, from the McLaren, but hopefully we'll be able to go for a move into one of these braking zones, one of these heavy braking zones. Doesn't look like this one is going to be the one this time around. Maybe into the next one. We are very, very close. Going to use the exit curb right here a little bit, trying to use the full width of the track. Unfortunately, he just kind of pulls away a little bit and doesn't really leave us much of an opportunity to go for a move. So still stuck behind him in third place. Luckily, plenty of time left in the race, 5 minutes remaining. If you look on the bottom left, you can see the gaps. I don't think first place finish will be too attainable this time around. It looks like the first place runner is kind of just completely Max Verstappen his way out of this race and is just completely gone. But our race is for second place right now. Onto the first main straight here, side by side with the McLaren on the outside line. Hopefully this should be good. We've made a couple overtakes on the outside line, and he just brakes a little bit early. We beat him on the brakes, and we are ahead into second place, which I believe to be the maximum we can achieve this time around. Still definitely a very good race with a really good result if we can go from pretty much the very bottom of the field into second place. So definitely pretty pleased with this performance so far. The cars felt really, really good to drive around. Very balanced, very nimble, as I said before, very agile, and really able to, you can really jam the brakes in this car too. The stopping power is crazy. I think maybe that's why. Maybe there's some type of weight, like major weight difference between this car and the rest of the competing cars in the field. I wouldn't be surprised if this is lighter. It feels a lot smaller and quicker, and just a little bit zippier. So maybe that is what sort of has been really the difference in the braking zones and making up so much time. But yeah, overall the car has been really, really good, very balanced, and it's pretty evident just based on the results of this race so far that I definitely have enjoyed driving this car. It's very easy to drive. It feels like a go-kart. Very, very simple. So yeah, overall pretty good race. Like I said, I think it's pretty impossible to catch the leader at this rate unless you make some type of huge mistake, which usually you don't see the AI doing. Usually they're pretty robotic and can kind of just get through the lap, set the same consistent lap time, and not really make any big errors. You can see my lap time on the top left is very, very slow this time around. I'm taking it very, very cautiously through this last couple laps. You can see it's complete darkness now, almost complete darkness. So it makes it a lot harder to see sort of just little cues, like where you braking points, sections where you should be lifting. You can see little cues in your surroundings, so it makes it a lot harder to see without headlights, with only headlights on, as the rest of the area is pretty much dark. So it makes that a little bit more difficult. So I'm taking these last laps pretty cautiously just to avoid, slamming into one of the walls like that, barely clipping the wall, I think, on the inside right there. Just a little bit of contact, but yeah, just making sure I'm gonna get to the end of the race without completely smashing my car into pieces. So this should be the last lap right now, coming through, I believe, the beginning of Sector 2 right here. This should be the beginning of Sector 2, working our way up the hill now. All we gotta do is come down it, go around the back straight, and we should be home free. So definitely very cautious through this final lap of the race, making sure I don't make any major mistakes. The gap behind seems to have opened up dramatically. You can see no car in sight behind or in front, so really just running my own race at this point. Definitely just made up a lot of time towards the end of the race. So even though the lap times have been slow, I guess I've been a little bit faster than the AI today. So I guess the car just kind of suits me this time around. But yeah. Don't really have any more things to say. The cars felt really, really balanced. The track is really fun. Luckily avoiding major mistakes. Like I've said, I've practiced this track for like hours upon hours, and it just never gets any easier. It's always difficult. Once you think you've got it down, you try it one more time and you do one more lap and then you crash, and it's like, oh my god, it's so frustrating. But made it through this time without any major mistakes, or we should be home free without any major mistakes. There's not really too much stuff to hit at this part of the track. I guess that curb on the left is the only thing I have to really look out for, and the rest of this is pretty much very, very, very simple. So yeah, it's going to be second place. I believe we started like 22nd or 20th. I'll have to I don't know, have someone in the comments tell me if anyone even makes it this far. But yeah, pretty good race result. Pretty much climbed up the entire field. I'm doing a little bit of drifting right now. Hopefully don't smash my car into a wall right here. Control it at the end. There we go. But yeah, podium finish from pretty much the very back of the field, which is definitely a really good result. Really a lot of fun to drive around this track. I had a good time in recording this, and I think I'm going to do some more one-off kind of Assettocorsa videos like this once I get that championship finished. If you haven't seen that series, there's 2 videos left in that. There's going to be, what is it, Zandvoort, and the Nürburgring is the season finale, so stay tuned for those if you want to check those out. But yeah, I will also be posting some F123 content. I have to get that game installed first, but that's definitely going to make more of an appearance on the channel as well pretty soon. So if you made it this far, thank you for watching. I had a blast recording this one, and I'll see you in the next one.